Alright, robot. I'm going to explore the issue today of raising this convertible top, because there's some question as to the exact protocol to do it and do it best. So the first thing is the emergency brake has to be pulled. It's ideal for the car to be running. And then you push this here button and hopefully it'll come up this time. And about 10.5 seconds or 11 seconds is about the ideal amount of time. And you got these things here which are handles. And they have to be levers or whatever. They have to be snapped in. This hooks around here, and this goes down in the hole. So now the top's up in theory, but what we have to do now is raise the windows. So we're gonna, it's the thought on the line to raise the rear ones first. Followed by the top ones. Front ones rather. And what you get is a condition like this, where there's a gap, which is no bueno. So the question is there a better way to raise these windows and not get that? I'm going to do some prep work first before we explore this question seriously. The thing we're going to do is clean and lube up this thing. And we're also going to clean and lube up that thing on the metal back here. To the extent that I know, this thing was down for about the, or rather up for at least 1.5 years and didn't move. So we're at the very least going to clean off these two things and lube them up before we do anything else. Here we go. First thing we're going to do is try to raise the top first, and then the front window, and then the rear window. Oh yeah, we're going to latch it. Let's latch it first before we do any of this. We'll experiment later with the latching it after the top is up. That went well. Alright, we're going to do the front window now. Alright, now we're going to do the rear window. And we're going to see if we get the infamous gap. There's a little gap. And there's a little gap there. Alright. Oops, shut up you. Alright, now we're going to run it down. Top up, and then the back window, and then the front window. Here goes the top. Now we're latching it. Now the back window. Now the other back window. Now the front windows. There's the gap. And there is also the gap, so that didn't help. Alright, down we go. Now we're going to raise the windows first and then latch it, starting with the front. Now the rear. No gap. A little gap there, not terrible. Top up. Alright, the top does almost come all the way down. We're still going to have to give it a little help. That's what these things are here for. Go. Now, there's a little gap right there, which isn't terrible. The gap there is gone. The gap here is gone. So that was actually a pretty good idea. There's a little gap right here. That's nothing. Alright, let's run the windows down. Let's run the top up just a little more and see if we can help ourselves here. And there's still a little gap there even with no windows, so the window isn't affecting the gap. A little gap there with no windows, but that's not terrible. You can go a long time and this thing will stay pretty dry just like that. So I think that was the best so far. Now let's try the experiment where we run up the windows. We run up we run up the top and then don't latch it. And then run up the windows. Alright, we're going to run up the top. And we're going to not latch it, even though it's almost in the latchable position here. Run up the back. Oops. Gonna run up the back. Now we're gonna run up the front. Minimal gap. A little bit of a gap, not terrible. And the front's pulling right down on that. So I would be okay with that as a solution. Now there's one solution that some Hawaiians were on there the other day and they had, which was lube down that rear window. And I'm going to try that before I do anything. this down. Also lubing this thing down. I'll lube this thing down. Alright. This carbon black is rubbing off. I don't think it's actually carbon black. I think it's Florida scuzz. This thing sat down in Florida for a while, and you know, everything that sits around in Florida, including the people, get kind of a scuzz on them. Just saying. I'll lube this thing out of this gasket. Now, is this Dawn for dishes likely to hurt the rubber in this gasket? The answer is that this is EPDM. It's not really supposed to be oil resistant, but this isn't really oil. So let's try it. Now, lube had a positive effect on that thing. Let's raise the glass. That isn't terrible. That also isn't terrible. So lube up the glass, that worked a little bit better. Let's raise the windows first. Let's raise the rear ones first. Which happens to be my favorite way. Now let's raise the front ones. No gap there, no gap there. See? And let's raise the top. No gap. And there's there. Not terrible. That one there is also there. But that might be the way. Alright. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. My solution is, it doesn't matter if you lube up the glass or lube up the rubber back there on those windows. Little Dawn for dishes works.